Yes, I understand. Send the documents to this address immediately. I need the hard copies by tomorrow morning.
My son handed me an envelope and erased 40 years of fatherhood with one
They
sentence.
found the money, Tom.
Dad,
It's over.
I'm not your son. There was no shouting, no fight. We were standing in the kitchen I built with my own hands during lunch prep, like any other day. I honestly thought it was just a receipt, another piece of paperwork. I had no idea that envelope wasn't taking my business from me. It was taking something much worse, my place in his life. I thought it was a receipt. That's the funny thing. When my son slid the envelope across the table, I didn't feel fear or anger.
We'll find
I felt annoyance.
We always do.
The lunch rush was about to start. The fryer was acting up again, and the smell of onions was already clinging to my shirt.
I need the hard
An
copies by
envelope,
tomorrow morning.
at a time like that, usually meant paperwork, bills, something that could wait. I wiped my hands on a towel and picked it up. It was heavier than it should have been, not because of what was inside, but because of what it carried. Years, decades, a whole life pressed
Found the
flat
money,
between
Tom.
two thin pieces of
It's
paper.
over. It's been a pleasure.
Daniel didn't look at me. He was
Likewise,
staring
Mr.
past
Brennan.
my shoulder,
We look forward
at
to
the
starting.
framed photo on the wall, the old one, yellowed at the edges. Me, 25 years younger, standing in front of this same restaurant when it was nothing more than peeling paint and borrowed hope. "Just read it," he said. The envelope wasn't sealed. I slid the paper out with fingers that had chopped vegetables and signed checks and wiped tables for most of my adult life. There was only one sentence. "Dad, I'm not your son." For a moment, the kitchen noise disappeared. No clatter, no voices, no sizzling oil. Just silence so loud it pressed against my ears. I read it again, slower this time. Like maybe I'd misunderstood English after 40 years of speaking it. "Dad, I'm not your son." I looked up at Daniel. My Daniel, the boy who used to fall asleep under the counter while I closed up at night. The teenager who complained about the smell of grease but still showed up every weekend. The man who had just convinced me 2 months earlier that he wanted to take over the business I built with my bare hands. "What is this?" I asked. He exhaled, sharp and impatient, like I was the one dragging things out.
Send the
"It's
documents
just
to this address
the truth.
immediately. I need the
Legally,
hard copies by
emotionally,
tomorrow morning.
however you want to see it." Legally, emotionally. Behind him, a server laughed at something one of the cooks said. Someone dropped a tray. Life kept moving, unaware that mine had just been cut clean in half. "You couldn't just say this?" I asked quietly. "You had to write it down?" Daniel finally met my eyes. There was no hatred there, no anger, just distance. Like I was a problem he'd already solved.
They found
"I
the money,
needed it to
Tom.
be clear," he
It's
said.
over.
"This business, it's outdated. The story you keep telling about sacrifice and family, it doesn't
Likewise, Mr.
work
Brennan.
anymore.
We look forward to starting.
Investors don't care about that." Ah, there it was. The real sentence. The one between the lines. I folded the paper carefully, the way you fold something fragile because you don't know where to put it yet. My hands didn't shake. That surprised me. "So what am I to you now?" I asked. He hesitated, just a second too long. "A founder," he said. Nothing more. In that pause, something inside me shifted. Not rage, not grief. Something colder, something quieter. People love a good revenge story. They imagine shouting matches, slammed doors, dramatic ultimatums. But real moments like this don't explode. They sink. They settle deep where you don't feel them right away, but you know they'll change everything. I slid the envelope back across the table. "Okay," I said. Daniel blinked. "Okay?" "Yes," I repeated, standing up. "Okay." He didn't know it yet, but that word wasn't surrender. It was the sound of a father realizing his work was finished, and that whatever came next would no longer be about being anyone's dad. People see the restaurant now and think it was always meant to be this way. The warm lights, the steady line at the door, the way regulars talk about it like it's always belonged here, like it just appeared one day and decided to stay. But that's not how it started, not even close. When I first opened this place, it wasn't really a restaurant. It was a gamble with walls. A narrow room that smelled like old paint and regret. I didn't even have enough money for a proper sign, just my last name painted crooked above the door by a friend who charged me half price and 2 meals. Back then, Daniel was 8. I used to bring him here after school because I couldn't afford a babysitter. He'd sit on an upside-down crate near the back, doing homework while I prepped for dinner. If customers came early, he learned to move out of the way without being told. If they stayed late, he learned how to sleep through noise.
Pleasure doing business with you.
I didn't teach him business at first. I taught him survival. How to tell when food was about to burn just by the smell. How to read people's faces before they complained. How to clean a table so well no one noticed it had ever been dirty. Those weren't lessons you wrote down. They were lessons you absorbed, whether you wanted them or not. Sometimes I wonder, have you ever built something so slowly that you didn't realize it was becoming your life? I never sat Daniel down and said, "This will all be yours one day." I didn't believe in promises like that. I believed in showing up, in keeping the lights on, in making sure there was always food on the table, even if it wasn't the same table the customers ate at. There were nights I closed alone, counting tips under a buzzing light, wondering if I'd made a mistake bringing a child into this mess. Daniel would be asleep in the office chair, his shoes still on, his head tilted at an angle that made my neck hurt just looking at it. I'd cover him with my jacket and think, at least he won't remember this part. Turns out, I was wrong. He remembered, but not the way I thought. As the years passed, the restaurant grew. Slowly, painfully. 1 good review, followed by 3 bad months. A loyal customer here, a broken freezer there. Every step forward felt like dragging something heavy behind me. Daniel went to college, learned words I never used. Strategy, branding, scalability. When he came back, he spoke about the restaurant like it was an idea, not a place. Like it hadn't raised him while I was busy keeping it alive. Still, when he told me he wanted to take over, I didn't hesitate. I handed him the keys, the books, the trust. Because in my mind, this wasn't just a business transfer. It was a passing of gratitude, unspoken, assumed, earned over time. And maybe that was my mistake. I never asked him to say thank you. I never asked him to acknowledge what it cost to build something from nothing. I thought the walls did that for me. I thought the name above the door did that for me. If you were in my place back then, would you have asked for more? Or would you, like me, have believed that some things didn't need to be said? Until one day, they were erased with a single sentence on a piece of paper. The envelope stayed on the counter all afternoon. I didn't open it right away. Not because I was scared of what it said, I already knew, but because once I did, there would be no pretending anymore. Outside, the restaurant moved on without me. Plates clinked. Someone laughed near the prep sink. The smell of onions and butter filled the kitchen, the same smell that had followed me for decades. This place had always known me as its spine. Now it barely noticed I was there. When I finally slid the letter out, it was short, efficient, very much my son. No emotion, no hesitation, just legal language, clean margins, and one line that landed harder than anything else. From this point forward, I ask that you no longer interfere with operations, staff decisions, or branding direction. That was it. No thank you, no acknowledgement of the years, no recognition of the nights I slept in my car outside this place when money was tight and the locks were still warm from closing. I folded the letter back into the envelope with care, like it might cut me if I moved too fast. That was the moment I understood something important.
Yes, I understand.
He didn't hate me.
Send the documents to this
Hate
address
would have been
immediately.
easier.
I need the hard
He just
copies by
didn't need
tomorrow
me
morning.
anymore. And somehow, that hurt worse. I went home early that day. Maria was at the table, sorting receipts the old-fashioned way. Pen, calculator, patience. She looked up when I walked in and knew immediately. "Did something happen?" she asked. I slid the envelope toward her. She read it once, then again. Then she set it down, slow.
He didn't have to say it like that.
"No," I said, but he meant it. We sat there in silence for a while.
It's over.
The kind of silence that isn't empty. It's full of things you don't know how to say yet.
It's been a pleasure
That
doing
night,
business with you.
I lay awake listening to the
Likewise,
house
Mr.
settle.
Brennan. We look
Pipes
forward to
ticking, the faint hum of the refrigerator. Sounds I'd tuned out for years because I was always too busy holding something together. And that's when it hit me. If I stayed silent forever, I would disappear quietly. But if I fought him head-on, I'd become exactly what he already thought I was, an obstacle. So I did the one thing he didn't expect. Nothing. No calls, no surprise visits, no texts asking how things were going. I let the space grow. A week passed, then 2. The manager still called me, not to complain, just to check in. I listened more than I spoke, took notes I never shared, watched the reviews dip, saw familiar names stop appearing in reservation logs, and somewhere in that waiting, a different kind of clarity formed. Have you ever realized that when someone erases your contribution, the most powerful response isn't anger, it's patience? I wasn't planning revenge, not yet, but I was paying attention. Because when someone is busy rewriting history, they rarely notice who still owns the ending.
I just don't see a way.
The first call came on a Tuesday morning,
We'll find one.
not from my son, from Patricia, the manager at our second location, the one who still wrote staff schedules by hand because she trusted people more than software.
Yes, I understand.
"I probably shouldn't be
Send the
calling you,"
documents to
she
this
said,
address immediately.
but I didn't know who
I
else
need
to
the
talk
hard
to.
copies by tomorrow morning.
I told her she did the right thing. She didn't complain. She never did. She just told me what she was seeing. Food deliveries arriving late, ingredients substituted without notice, staff hours cut mid-week, regulars asking where their favorite dishes went. One older couple walked out when they found out the menu had changed again. "They said it didn't feel like home anymore," Patricia said quietly. After we hung up, I wrote everything down. Names, dates, small details no spreadsheet ever bothered to
They
notice.
found the money, Tom.
That became my
It's
routine.
over.
Every few days, another call. A dishwasher who'd been sent home early 3
It's been a
shifts in a
pleasure doing
row.
business with you.
A line cook told to
Likewise, Mr. Brennan.
move faster
We look
by a
forward to
consultant who'd never held a pan. A server who cried in the walk-in because a regular customer asked if she'd done something wrong. I never offered advice, never told anyone what to do. I just listened. And slowly, a picture formed. On paper, things looked fine. Margins up, waste down, labor efficiency improving. But beneath that, something was cracking. One afternoon, I stopped by the Athens location. Not to interfere, just to sit at the counter like any other customer. No one recognized me at first. That stung more than I expected. The burger came out faster than usual. It looked right, smelled right. It wasn't. The meat was thinner, the seasoning different, the buns slightly dry. Not bad, just forgettable. The guy next to me took one bite and shrugged. "Used to be better," he said to no one in particular. The server smiled politely. "That's what corporate wants now." Corporate. I paid and left without finishing my plate. That night I pulled out old documents, not the sentimental stuff, the practical ones. Partnership agreements, operating authority, ownership breakdowns. I wasn't looking for leverage. I was looking for clarity. Have you ever realized that the people changing everything rarely understand what actually holds it together? I found it in black and white. I had stepped back from daily operations, but I had never stepped away from ownership. 60%. I sat there for a long time staring at that number, not because it made me feel powerful, but because it made me feel responsible. This wasn't about proving my son wrong. It wasn't about getting even. It was about protecting something that could no longer protect itself. I closed the folder and turned off the light. For the first time since the envelope, I slept through the night. Because I finally understood something my son didn't. Some things don't collapse loudly.
They found the money.
They fade, quietly,
It's over.
politely, until someone notices what's being lost. And when that happens, it's already almost too late.
Likewise.
I didn't make the calls during business hours. That felt wrong. So I waited until the restaurants were closed, the lights dimmed, the noise gone. After 10 at night, when people finally had a moment to breathe, that's when they answered honestly. The first person I called wasn't a lawyer. It was Jim Henderson. He'd supplied our produce for over 20 years, knew our orders better than most of my managers ever had. "Tom," he said, surprised. "I figured you were done with all this." "I thought so too," I told him. "How are things on your end?" There was a pause. Not a long one, but enough. "They cut us loose," he said. "Switched to a national distributor. Said it was about consistency." I closed my eyes. "I'm sorry." "Don't be. I get it. Business is business. Just wish they'd told me face to face." That sentence stayed with me longer than anything else. Face to face. I kept dialing. Former employees, local partners, even two regulars who'd been coming since the 90s. I didn't ask leading questions, didn't complain. I just asked how things felt now. The answers followed a pattern. "It's faster but colder. Cheaper but smaller. Efficient but empty." No one used the word better. One call caught me off guard. It was from David Chen. He hadn't quit yet, not officially, but his voice sounded tired in a way I recognized. "They brought in a consultant," he said, timed how long I took to plate a dish, told me my sauces were inconsistent. "That sauce won us awards," I said. "I know," he replied, "but awards don't show up on their dashboards." After we hung up, I sat in the dark kitchen for a long time. The house smelled like nothing. No garlic, no butter, just quiet. That's when Maria came in and set a mug of tea in front of me without asking.
It's over.
"You're carrying this alone," she said. "I don't know how not to,"
It's been a
I
pleasure doing
answered.
business with you.
She didn't argue. She never did when she knew I was already telling the truth. The next day, I met with a lawyer. Not to sue, not to threaten, just to understand my options. He laid them out calmly, like he was explaining weather patterns. Operational control, fiduciary responsibility, majority ownership. None of it felt like victory. It felt like weight. Have you ever noticed how responsibility doesn't announce itself? It just shows up one day and refuses to leave. I drove past the original location that evening. Didn't go in. Just watched people walk out with bags in their hands instead of plates on their tables. They weren't staying anymore. That was the moment I made my decision. Not out of anger, not out of pride, out of obligation. Because when you spend your life building something on trust, you don't get to walk away the moment it becomes inconvenient. And if stepping in meant becoming the villain in my son's story, I was ready to carry that too. The meeting didn't happen in a boardroom. It happened in a quiet corner of a hotel lobby in Atlanta, early enough that the coffee was still too hot to drink, and the place smelled like lemon cleaner. Neutral ground. That mattered to me.
We'll find one.
Sarah Thornton arrived exactly on time. She didn't bring a presentation. No flashy slides, no big promises. Just a thin folder and a calm look that told me she already understood more than she was saying. "We've been watching what's happening," she said after we shook hands. "Not just the numbers, the behavior." That got my attention. She talked about brand erosion, about how community-based businesses don't fail all at once. They bleed slowly, regular by regular, employee by employee. "You can raise margins and still destroy value," she said. "Your son is very good at the first part. He's missing the second." She slid the folder across the table.
They found the money.
Inside were notes, specific ones, locations, supplier changes, staff turnover. She knew about Henderson Farms, about the reduced hours, about the complaints that never reached official reports. "We're not interested in flipping Brennan's," she continued. "We'd keep the name, the sourcing, the culture. That's why it works." I didn't answer right away, because agreeing with her meant admitting something I'd been avoiding. That my son wasn't just making different choices. He was dismantling something he never believed in. The offer was clear, clean, legal. They wanted my 60% stake. Cash. Enough to give them control. Enough to stop the bleeding. I asked one question. What happens to him? Sarah didn't hesitate. We offer him a choice. Stay on as a minority partner with operational boundaries, or we buy him out at fair market value. Fair. That word cut deeper than it should have. I drove home in silence. That night, I sat at the kitchen table with Maria, the same table where we'd balanced payroll checks and birthday cards and bad months we never told anyone about. I told her everything. She listened. Then she reached across the table and held my hand. "You're not choosing against your son," she said. "You're choosing for what you built." "I know," I said, "but he won't see it that way." She squeezed my hand tighter. "Sometimes love doesn't look like permission." I didn't sleep much. I kept thinking about the envelope, about the letter that erased decades with a paragraph, about how easily contribution becomes invisible once someone decides it no longer fits the story they want to tell. By morning, the decision was already made. I called my lawyer, asked him to review everything, NDAs, terms, exit conditions. No drama, no confrontation, just preparation. Because this wasn't revenge. It was responsibility finishing what silence started. I knew what would happen when my son found out. He would say I betrayed him, that I went behind his back, that I proved I never trusted him. And maybe, from where he stood, all of that would be true. But from where I stood, doing nothing, that would have been the real betrayal. To the people, to the place, to the years that built something fragile and rare. And maybe, one day, to him. Audience interaction. Natural. at the end. If you've ever been in a position where protecting what matters meant being misunderstood by the person you love most, then you already know. Some decisions don't feel brave when you make them. They just feel necessary.